You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. Boom, 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 boom. Too much love drives a man insane. Boom, 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 boom. Broke my will, but what else do? Good gracious, Lucas and Zack podcast. / Ball of Fire, because that's the name of the movie.
Well, welcome, folks. Episode 51. Barbara Stanwyck continues. Zack just cracked us up. He basically killed our guest during that. Yeah, we're talking Ball of Fire, the Barbara Stanwyck film. Howard Hawks directed. We have a special guest today who's way better than both Zack and I, who are boring, and you've been listening to 2 episodes of it. We have Cameron Redshaw here.
Hello. I'm excited to be here. I really like this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a fun movie.
Oh, God. Am I on a delay?
To say a name that is...
You're in a real bad delay. This is going to be great.
I'm sorry.
Oh, here we go. It's okay. It's all right.
Okay.
All right. We'll figure this out. Let's start off. Little last letterbox movie. Zack, you're not on delay and should be fine. Or no, maybe you are.
Yeah.
Zack, what's the last thing you watched on Letterboxd?
I'd spent too much time preparing for the song. I didn't prepare for what I watched on Letterboxd. Right. Last thing I watched was Mickey and Nikki. I only watch movies that rhyme. This is the new 2021 Zack. Mickey and Nikki, Elaine May's 1976 kind of a gangster film drama of John Cassavetes and Peter Falk playing who appear to be like childhood friends that still are connected by their past, but somehow grew distance as they both kind of go their own ways at some level in the gang world. The movie starts off like right into the action of John Cassavetes, like nervous in a hotel room, scared of being that he's going to be shot for possibly stealing money. They never fully explain it. To where Peter Falk, as the old friend, is the one that has to come to help. But it turns out maybe there's other things being planned. But really, it's about the long and twisted history that friendship can take you, and how as you go different routes through life, it can put different stresses and pains on that relationship. But there's still always kind of a sense of nostalgia memory that brings you back that they have. And it's like great performances. It's really the reason to watch the movie, and just kind of great personal observations by Elaine May. This is the second time I watched it. I think it grew so much on rewatch. So even because I think it's hard to find the vibe and what's going for in the first watch, but the second time, once you kind of know what you're getting yourself into, it's like weirdly moving and just a masterpiece of acting. Mikey and Nikki. I might have said Mickey and Nikki. So it doesn't even rhyme. So this is all lies. I take it back. I never watched this movie. I watched Mickey and Nikki.
I'm not going to lie. When you said Mickey and Nikki, I was like, is this some weird Disney spin-off, Disney Plus?
It's Mickey Mouse and Little Nicky trying to save each other on the bus.
Fair. I have not seen this film, so I have no comment. Cam, have you seen Elaine May films, this film in particular?
I haven't seen any of her films, actually, and it was only this year that I realized Peter Falk did more than just be the old guy in Princess Bride. So, but I look forward to maybe checking it out sometime.
Hey, he's a great man on the bench.
Sure.
And
no, I really like him.
A great Muppet keeper. I was talking about Muppets. He makes a Muppet cameo. That's how I primarily knew him for a long time.
Zack, basically in Zack's world, you don't count unless you've been in a Muppet movie.
And I almost said the wrong movie. I think it's Muppet Takes Manhattan. I almost said Great Muppet Caper. That would have been embarrassing and brand ruining.
I think you did say Great Muppet Caper. Right?
Yeah. Damn
it.
Well, that is incorrect. Mr. Redshaw, what's the last thing you watched on Letterboxd?
Yes, other than the movie we're talking about today, I watched Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor. I finally got around to it. I had been so caught up with trivia in the past few months that I hadn't watched any real new releases. So finally got around to Possessor, and I really dug it. I thought I had a lot of really cool ideas. I really like Cronenberg style in it. And I thought Christopher Abbott was actually like really, really great in it. I think it had like some untapped potential to it, but all in all, I had a really good time with it.
There. So I also saw this. I liked it a little bit less than you. For me, it was a lot of parts I liked that never came together. I kept waiting for the moment where like it was going to hit me, and it never really got to that point. So I was a little bit disappointed. It's one of the films that I feel like I think, to be honest, the world is with you on this one, and I'm kind of the outsider who has the slightly lower take on the film than a lot of other people. Zach, did you see Possessor?
I did see Possessor. I've also experienced Possessor. Take that for what you will. I maybe in the middle. Like I think I give it some benefit of the doubt because I appreciate what it's going for, and I appreciate like, the ambitiousness and the weirdness that Cronenberg goes for. But it is a isolating movie and something hard to. I mean that's what it's supposed to be, but it's hard to attach yourself into it. I do appreciate some. I'm getting really into. Like body horror stuff. I realized I just can really appreciate the makeup what they're going for. So that I found that really, thrilling and in a disgusting manner. But story wise, because I think you're trying so hard to fully figure out what's going on, it left me a little distant. But I appreciate it. Yeah.
Very few movies make me like squeamish, but it kind of did.
Back at you. Yeah, it's got some gnarly stuff in there that certainly could mess with you a little bit. In the vein of newer films, I did your whole catch up.
Why are you
a couple
answering?
Months ago.
What are you speaking about? No one asked you a question. It's not your turn to talk. Hey, Lucas, what did you most recently watch on
I can always speak.
But sometimes I feel like you forget. I thought you've been waiting for me to ask you.
Well, I mean, Cameron is wonderful and is very clear when he cuts off his sentences that he's done. I'm used to you, Zach, where your sentences trail off and sometimes fall off a cliff. Cam's a hard stop. He hits that break hard.
Your pause is just too long. Because I give you like 2 seconds, and once there's nothing speaking, I figure out like I gotta fill in this dead air.
Want me to leave the room so you guys can talk?
No, you're good. You're good. Good therapist.
This is like
good referee in the middle of this
thread on this month of the podcast. Is just us talking about how I don't finish talking.
Speaking of newer films, I caught up to The United States versus Billie Holiday, which is an interesting film. I feel like Lee Daniels is a director that always takes on stories that are really interesting, gets a really interesting and great cast, and then pretty consistently doesn't live up to what he has in front of him. This film is all over the place. It's very weirdly paced. It's weirdly focused. It's like there's literally like the beginning and the end are the same interview, but they almost never go back to that for half the film. Characters seemingly know each other, but it's not really ever explained why they know each other. Like Trevante Rhodes' character walks into the beginning of the story, and for some reason, everybody seems to know who he is, although that doesn't really make any sense narratively. I will give a huge credit to Trevante Rhodes. The guy is ripped to like an oblivion. He is he has about a 10-pack in a couple scenes there. So credit to him. His I wish the film was as focused as he clearly is on his diet and exercise plan, because I think it would be a better film. It's such a weird film. It's such a weird performance to be nominated for the Oscar, because I do like Andra Day in it, but I also sort of feel like if she wasn't the person that was always in front of me and the person I was told to focus on, I feel like she's sometimes forgettable. It's a really bizarre movie that I feel like fits the classic Oscars trope of like somebody sings their own song and plays a famous person, and that's why they nominated for an Oscars. I think that in 5 years we're gonna look back and go, they nominated that movie and that performance, because I think just it's not going to have any longevity.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. No, because like Lee Daniels scared me off, and if the reviews were high, I might have given it a chance. But I wasn't that interested in his version of a biopic. I'm also skeptical of musician turned acting performances unless they like have a proven career. But once you hire a musician to play a musician, I think you kind of know what you're getting into, which is maybe not able to fully handle the drama moments, but is there for the songs. I'd rather mix. Unless your name is J-Lo and you're playing Selena, I don't want it. I'll take Selena every day.
I do appreciate that Zach just like sort of inadvertently shit on the commitments of film that he loves and is filled with a bunch of musicians playing acting roles.
They're not the leads, though. Well, the musician is the lead, but he doesn't sing. Yeah, they're real good, though.
Cam, have you seen this film?
I have seen this film. I watched it just a couple weeks ago. I agree with most of what you were saying. I do think Andra Day's really good, but also I feel like I don't know enough about Billie Holiday to really like assess how good she is. Like she kept my attention for most of the time, and I thought she was good. But yeah, the movie's really all over the place. I thought it was ending like 3 or 4 different times, and once it finally did, I was kind of taken off guard. I appreciate it doesn't like fully follow the like traditional musical biopic like formula, but it also it's weird. It's kind of weird for how like traditional I expected it to be. But yeah.
I think the weirdest thing about the film is it literally starts and ends itself with a talk about how anti-lynching legislation has not been passed. That's the beginning and the end of this film. That is literally almost never talked about in between, except like mentions to the song that she sings. Like it is, I don't know why they did that. Like you could have just made a movie. Like I don't think we need to. Like obviously lynching is bad. Like you could just be like lynching is bad. We don't need to like preface it against like legislation in Congress not getting passed or getting passed. Like it's such a weird framing device that they almost. They don't I don't feel like they're trying to make that point. Like this is not a go tell your senators to vote for anti-lynching legislation movie, except that the fact that you put that at the beginning and the end makes it sound like that this is a Spike Lee movie, except it's just not a Spike Lee movie. Like that's the Spike Lee beginning and end, and this is not a Spike Lee movie in between. It's just there's so many weird stuff they just throw in. They're like, yeah, throw that in there. Why not?
Yeah, it introduces like some fantastical elements like 2/3 of the way through too, and I was like, did Lee Daniels just get this far in the movie and then see Rocket Man? I was like, hey, I need some of that stuff. I'm not sure.
You know what? I would watch Lee Daniels' Rocket Man. If he could just go full melodramatic, but not try to make something that needs to be taken seriously, because I don't think he. I don't want to say he's not touch enough. I'm sure he's a very smart man. He makes a lot of movies, but movie-wise, his movies don't tend to be smart enough to handle something serious. I do want to ask though: do you think that this
thing is his movie?
I just want to ask my question. Do you think that this movie was hurt by being released so soon after Judas and the Black Messiah, being they both kind of deal with the FBI's interactions with important black figures? I feel like it hasn't been talked about at all, but I haven't seen the movie, and that automatically came to mind.
I would say no, because I think that interactions are so vastly different. Like, they're targeting Fred Hampton purely because of his beliefs in being a member of the Black Panther Party. Like, you can understand why they're targeting him, and you can understand why that's a bad thing. This movie, like, they're targeting her because of her songs, but it looks like she's like a rampant heroin user who keeps giving them the opportunity to target her. Like she makes it so easy on them that like there are like moments where you do feel sympathetic towards her, but also moments where you're like, can you not be an it? Like the cops are watching you. Why are you leaving? Why are you like carrying drugs? Like you're opening yourselves up to these problems. Obviously you would prefer our government not to target people because they don't like their songs, but also like you're blatantly using drugs all the time, and that is technically against the law in a way that the stuff that Fred Hampton is doing is not.
I don't like that I opened up that conversation because you just went Billie Holiday deserved it on us.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying she deserved it. I'm not saying she deserved it. I'm saying there's just a very different perspective of the interactions are just very different. Like Billie Holiday is actually committing crimes. Fred Hampton is not a criminal. Fred Hampton is a person who is advocating for, like the best argument against Fred Hampton is like, he was in promoting Black empowerment, which, if you really want to twist it into a negative light, looks like violence causing. But like Billie Holiday's crimes are like right in front of you. Drugs are illegal. You can't do that. Like it's. I just think the interactions are just vastly different. I'll let Cam talk now. He doesn't.
No, I agree that the interactions are completely different. The comparison didn't even really cross my mind while watching either movie. Yeah, I don't have really anything to ask.
It was just a shallow comparison because I haven't actually seen it. I just knew they both had to do with FBI interactions, which came out like 2 weeks apart. That kind of came to my notice. Yeah.
I will also say the United States versus Billie Holiday is also not necessarily a particularly accurate title because, yes, the government is targeting her, but also like people who are supposed to be on her side are also going against her quite a lot. So that it's not a direct like government versus her. It's like the government plus a bunch of people who are screwing her over versus her. Like it's not. There's a lot of more complicating factors than like a purely like government targeting of Billie Holiday.
There is that one courtroom scene though, where I think they say the title out loud just so that you know why it's titled that way. Unless I remember incorrectly.
Yeah, they go, the United States versus Billie Holiday is now in session. Yeah. Yeah. This is a movie that is only getting talked about now and being watched by people because it got some awards buzz. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone in 5 years will go back and be like, which movies from 2021 do I need to watch? And like, that's one I need to watch.
Yeah,
like,
no.
This is
don't go to that.
I think
when you can go to Hillbilly Elegy instead.
That's a different year, Zach. 2021 and 2020 are different years, Zach.
It's same Oscars. That's all we're
With that being,
about.
Oh yeah, it's depressing. All right, let's jump ahead. Let's talk about a much better film. Let's talk about Ball of Fire, the Howard Hawks directed, Barbara Stanwyck and Gary Cooper starring film. It's the second film in a row for you and me, Zach, talking Cooper and Stanwyck. We talked Meet John Doe last week.
Yeah.
Zach, why don't you give us a plot summary of this screwball comedy?
Yeah, let's talk about this horny ass movie. So
it really is. It's so horny.
There's this group of old gentlemen, mostly over the age of 60, and then Gary Cooper. They're the same actor in my mind, and I'm going to say this 10 more times. Thank you. Okay, Gary Cooper and a bunch of old men.
Let's take Gregory Peck is better in this movie than Gary Cooper is.
I think Gary Cooper is really good, actually, and we'll discuss it. Anyways, Gary Cooper, who's a linguist or an English professor, not a linguist, but essentially is studying language with these old men who all have their own specialty because they're making an encyclopedia that was financed by the inventor of the toaster that was just really jealous he didn't make the other encyclopedias. The best joke of the movie. So he funded his own. They all live together like a bunch of little buddy boys, hanging out all day, talking basically crossword facts to each other. To where then someone comes in with trivia questions. They're like they're garbage man, and Jesus Christ, Gary Cooper. I had to take a pause to make sure I said the right name. Gary Cooper was like, what is this lingo? I don't know this flam. I know these other words, but I don't know what he's saying. So he goes on an investigation of the common man's language through the city. He recruits a whole team at a nightclub. He sees Barbara Stanwyck, who I think's only name is Sugar Puss. We're going to go with that. She's singing some great songs. She sings the same song twice, but the second time they do it in whisper form, which is real great. So she gets recruited to be part of this, but she only joins because her at some point a fiance is a top level gangster involved in that some kind of crime that she has to go on the hide for, so she doesn't get incriminated with it. Shenanigans partake. They say a lot of words like boogie woogie and yum yum and shem sham and wooby dooby. It's all great. That's the reason why Gary Cooper works, because he gets to say all this ridiculous shit in a straight face. And Barbara Stanwyck gets to be her, it's her third straight con movie that we're talking about. I think all 5 of them were cons at some point. And she plays the game until they fall in love because it's a movie in the 1940s and all ends up happily ever after, and they live with the 7 drawers for the rest of the time.
Basically that, yeah.
Thank you. I fell apart.
Let's begin.
I did so well last episode, and we did not discuss it. The Me John Doe summary is like the most thorough and well articulated summary I've ever done. This one fell apart.
I miss the days when your summaries turned into a main plot, and then Zach spending 3/4 the time on a minor subplot. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I spent like 2 minutes just talking about her singing the song while people were drumming. That would have been the old.
Yeah. Let's start with the place we've always been starting, which is Stanwyck. Cameron, what's your relationship with Barbara Stanwyck films? You've obviously seen this one, but what about others? How do you feel about her overall as an actress?
Overall, from what I've seen, I really like her. She's always been one of the actresses I wanted to like really explore further. Because I've always had like favorite actors, but I don't really have like a favorite actress that I can pinpoint. But like, of course, I'm a huge Wilder fan. Double Indemnity is one of my favorite movies, and I think she's absolutely phenomenal in that. And I also really like her. I think I'm the only person that's seen this movie. Frank Capra's The Miracle Woman from 1931. I actually really, really like that film, and she's really great in it. It's one of Capra's earlier things, and not many people have seen it, but I recommend it.
Interesting. I'm not seeing this either. I will say I do agree with your sentiment about I always have also had trouble finding favorite actresses, because a lot of times when I have seen a lot from an actress, it's an actress in a lot of supporting roles. And I very rarely have seen like 20+ movies from an actress the same way I have an actor where they are consistently the lead or the second lead. A lot of times it's like, oh, I've seen a ton of, I don't know, Cate Blanchett movies because she's in a bunch of franchises or something. There's not a lot of, unfortunately, you just look through the history of cinema. There's not a lot of major films that are female led for just such a long time that it is hard to pinpoint that down. Zach, do you have a favorite actress? Do you have this trouble like we do?
Well, my go-to usually is Natalie Portman, but Barbara Stanwyck. I mean, I've only seen the 5 that we're all talking about, but they're all just like high heat performances for me. And Me John does iffy, but I will say the thing I've noticed too is because I have marathon, actors. Sometimes I've done Katharine Hepburn. I've considered doing Judy Garland and Barbara Stanwyck, and it's weird that all the ones that seem like tangible marathons are all classic actresses, because that's where most of the lead roles were back in the classic time. It's classic Hollywood, shitty for I'm sure a lot of reasons that we'll never fully get down deep on. But one thing they did is though they did have plenty of roles for women and lead actresses that did not exist through the 70s, 80s, 90s. So that's why I think some of these actresses have tested the time, because the other actresses modern times haven't gotten the same chance. But I do like about Barbara Stanwyck, and why I am happy to consider her one of my favorites, is I think she is a very modern performer for the classic style. I think in this movie too, this is a pretty, traditional 1940s screwball comedy, but her delivery of the jokes still just has such a kind of grounded, down to earth feel that would have fit in the 90s and 2000s. And so I find so remarkable about her. She doesn't have the over stylized classical acting, except maybe in Meet John Doe, which is part of what doesn't work in that movie. But she doesn't have that in this, or Lady Eve, or We Do Christmas in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. I will say, coming off of Meet John Doe, a film where you and me both criticized it a decent amount for sidelining Stanwyck as the film goes along and really spending a lot of time with less interesting male characters. This film is really smart in realizing, Hawks is really smart in realizing that she is the thing that pops the most on screen, and that letting her take over and basically freestyle whenever she needs to it makes every scene better. She takes a dynamic that works with Cooper and these older, professor types, and makes it more interesting, more alive, and kind of more dynamic every time she's there. She's just a real she's the real energy of this film. Like, Cooper's good, the other characters are good as well, but she's the real energy. The film is at a different level whenever she's on screen.
Yeah, she's not the lead, she is the fireball. Because Cooper is essentially the lead. But once she's on screen, you know who's going to carry that moment every time. I do think Gary Cooper gets to play a great straight man, which is, I think, what she needs. That's what, Henry Fonda can function as in Lady Eve. Kind of these, like, naive, doofy types are the great second hands for her. Because she is that kind of very witty, street smart woman that needs the polar opposite to create that chemistry, that really intelligent but kind of deprived in a way of real life outside of their academia or outside of snakes, like in Henry Fonda's case, that I think helps her really kind of shine in her edgy way.
Yeah, let's start with the premise about this. This movie has like the classic screwball comedy, ridiculous premise. The idea that like a bunch of people are writing an encyclopedia and getting money to do this. It's kind of just like, it's a good setup.
Great.
It's great.
It's not a thing, right? Like, people don't just like get hired to
just shack up
and live together.
I don't think in like the sort of random way where they're just like, it's a random foundation who's like, write an encyclopedia. Okay. Why wouldn't you just buy the encyclopedia that didn't give you enough space and make them add to that one book? Like, that's like the most nonsensical part of this film, which is like, this is the weirdest way to get back at that. But
and
it does
also,
allow you to bring in all these
guys,
really fun.
We got to talk about encyclopedias for at least 5 more minutes. All these guys,
Okay.
They're doing so much research and working overtime and going above budget when, like, really all you're being asked to do is add this toaster shit. Just read the other encyclopedias, paraphrase it in your own words. Do the same thing. What do you need to study out there? Everything's been done.
Every time they talk about the encyclopedia is funny. Like, just the idea that he wrote like a 47-page document on slang with like 250 plus like examples of it. I'm like, what are you talking about? How did you do this? That's just ridiculous.
It was all worthless.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, I don't know how they didn't pull the plug sooner on this whole experiment. I can only imagine how unsatisfying any of their products would have been. Their work products would have been up to that point. They've been like, you guys have accomplished nothing. You just sit around and read books all day. Like, this is the greatest scam in the history of the world.
Oh, they put stuff into action. That's what, like, Gary Cooper started when he went out to experience his studies on the streets. And then one of the best jokes is Essie Sackle, who Wait for Christmas in Connecticut, because just like fucking rules in Christmas in Connecticut. Yes. But Essie Sackle, who is the physiology professor, gets to say, "Oh, if he's going down the streets, I think I gotta go test out sex again." He's the horniest of them all. But I've been very curious about all their roles, because I knew some of them, but it was hard to be clear. And I just know that there's shit that this encyclopedia is going to be lacking. Wikipedia came through. Here's the rules. We got English and grammar, sciences, so just all sciences, geographer, which we were told, physiology, law, philosophy, botany, history. There's nothing about math, nothing culture related at all, like art.
There is definitely a reference to mathematicians at some point.
I think the sciences
math.
Covers math. But why is sciences so broad and then the one guy just does botany? He's definitely sitting on his ass way too much.
Because he's got to have those lines about the flowers.
There's also...
It is funny. No, go ahead.
A character's name is Joe Lilac. Why was that not the botany guy?
Oh my god, dude, Joe Lilac is the villain. And one of the best lines of this film is when they mentioned that he was given pajamas for Christmas, but he only wears lilac-colored pajamas, and that's why he wouldn't wear them. That's the original instigation for the murder plot, is that he had been given Joe Lilac pajamas and somebody else was wearing them, and when he did a murder, and that's why they linked it back to Joe Lilac. It's the most ridiculous crap I've ever seen, but it's also hysterical.
just that pink pajamas are the inciting incident for this entire movie. Just makes me very happy and also like slightly frustrated, but not really.
I missed all these names because the henchmen's names are Duke Pastrami and Asthma Anderson.
Yeah, Pastrami and Asthma.
You don't remember the part of the movie where
I miss things.
Gary Cooper's on the phone with Joe Lilac, and Lilac says, "Let me talk to Pastrami now." Like his name gets mentioned like 4 times in one scene. It's great.
I just feel like some of those things I just don't hit me right away. I just like pass it off as like a name is being said, and I move forward. That's why I don't remember character names because I just run it over.
Yeah, this is a long-running thing on the podcast. Zach refers to all characters by the actors' names because he cannot remember even the most famous guy.
I know Sugar Puss.
Her name is Catherine or Miss O'Shea. Okay.
Yeah, Cameron is refusing to become as vulgar as the rest of us.
You can't refuse to say it, but type it.
You can't prove that I typed that. They do.
I could have typed it. I have people.
At one point, I do believe Gary Cooper's character does refer to Puss in her name as Face, as it's supposed to mean face. So that can make us okay with saying it.
Oh no, they give a very innocent definition.
No, yeah,
it's like someone you call very sweet, not that their vagina is sweet and tasty, which is.
Wow!
Definitely what those old guys.
Wow!
It's definitely what Zach was thinking.
They make very clear in the film that a sugar puss is the opposite of a sour puss. This is a reference to personality only, and Zach Ford is a disgusting troglodyte who should stop.
I'm gonna ask Gary Cooper's character where the origins of even sourpuss is. I'm sure it's real dirty.
Do you want me to look this up for you, Zach?
Yes. This is gonna be a new term. You're on the wrong show. This is why I have once every 4 shows.
Sourpuss, bad-tempered or habitually sullen person. Let's see if we can go to the Oxford Dictionary.
We should have saved this for an episode with Barr, so we could just continue over sexually conversations with Andrew Barr when he's on.
Yeah, we'll let it support. Let's get back to the film for a second. Cameron, while you've now been embarrassed by Zach's mouth, what for you? What makes this film work? And like what? I don't think it necessarily is that different from a traditional screwball comedy, but what makes this one succeed at a level that maybe others don't?
I mean, the easy answer is Stanwyck. I agree. Her energy just like permeates through the whole thing, and just like the fact that it's like it's sort of a fish out of water story, but like everyone is out of water, like everyone is out of their element. I just really love, and also just. I assume we would bring it up eventually, but how it's just kind of a weird mobster version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, kind of, and it was actually like directly inspired by Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's just a really interesting angle, and I love that, and I love all the character actors it brings into it. I don't really have anything smart to say on like what elevates it above other screwball comedies, because I do like. Equate it to like Howard Hawks' other screwball comedies at the time. I think it's like it does similar things and reaches its greatness in a similar way. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I think also another thing you brought it up, like the idea of guys working on a dictionary and then being so isolated. Throwing Stanwyck in that mix is just such like a charge of energy. It's such a different such a different energy. It's a different personality. It's like a type of personality that they're just totally unfamiliar with. There's a real sweetness to how much they want to make sure she's okay and like take care of her in a way that is actually like, there is like, you can look at it now and say this movie is horny, but like in the context of the film, in the context of the time period, it is really a story about just like a bunch of like uncles, grandpas. Like they really, they treat her like a grandkid, like somebody they're trying to take care of. Like there's a real, oh, she can sleep in my room, I'll sleep in somebody else's room. Like there's like a real sweetness to it that, you know, that lets the ridiculousness play because the ridiculousness isn't so much inspired by like a grumpy housekeeper rather than Stanwyck actually doing anything that's bad or should be called out. It just comes a story where like the housekeeper's a real killjoy and doesn't want to let them like have a dance together and like, just have fun. Like that's like her the destructive presence of Stanwyck is like she would like to have a fun dance. Like that's how like the level of this film is operating.
I think you're forgetting that this is a house of bachelors, Lucas. How they refer to themselves as a house of bachelors, even though they're all over 70. So real fucking rudeness that in It's a Wonderful Life, Donna Reed gets called a old maid because she's working as a librarian, but people can work on encyclopedias and they're still just called these like bachelors, just waiting for the bait.
Wow, I mean, I wonder why that exists in society that you can refer to a woman in one way and a man in another. Man, I think Zach just came up with something groundbreaking in this moment.
But I don't think that their horniness is for her, which is smart because their horniness is just for like the idea of women because there's like repressed 12-year-olds. That in a way, it's a weird version of the like man boy because they're like super intelligent, smart people, but they have the like societal awareness of a 12-year-old. This would be like a weird version of like a Judd Apatow remake of this could be like actually pretty great in a way because it is just a spin on the man boy. But so I think that helps maintain the innocence with her belonging in the house, not being too much. But the reason Miss Bragg is against it is just that 1940s idea of this is the house of bachelors. How we can't have a woman living in the house of all these single men, ruining their chances of pure marriage.
And distracting them from their encyclopedia.
But once they're engaged, like right away, she was crying and like happy for it. She just wanted it to be like sincere and pure in that 1940s definition. But that lasts for 5 seconds because then she finds out the con.
Yes, I mean also Stanwyck is a little bit more risque than probably the average woman who could walk into that house at the time.
Yeah,
which I think is a little bit playing into why. I mean, she's wearing like she's a
club she pulls up
somewhat revealing. I did not say it looks bad. I'm just saying that I think you can understand why Miss Bragg maybe look at that and potentially have a problem with that.
I will say, style-wise, we said Leave, top-tier style movie. This is not the dresses, clothes not as good. Barbara Stanwyck still looks great, but the clothes not as good as Leave.
Well, if you look at the credits for this film, Stanwyck has a costumer for herself. Yeah. Like, if you look at the credits of the film, there is a costumer for the film, and then there is Miss Stanwyck's costumer. Because clearly, I think in the era of, studio control, making sure that Stanwyck, your star, looked just absolutely 100% at all times was probably a pretty important thing to both her and to the studio producing the film.
Yeah. I want to make some comparisons because this came right from a conversation about screwball comedies, but backtracking to that a little bit, comparing it to the energy of like bringing a baby, and why this can create its own path is bringing a baby in a lot of screwball comedies around the time like we're just so high speed and the energy like could not be contained and restrained. To where sometimes I find that a little hard to keep up with. Bringing up baby, I've seen it a few times. I like it a lot, but I can't attach myself into it because it's just so quick. When I think having Stanwyck and Cooper in this, they I think have a tonality and a pace to their acting that helps slow it down. I say grounded down. That's what I mentioned about Stanwyck before. She does make it seem more realistic and grounded than most screwball comedies can be. Otherwise, like Katharine Hepburn bringing a baby is so eccentric, so over the top. And Barbara Stanwyck is this kind of out of place, gangster mall in a way. Around smart people, it could come off so eccentric, but she can make it real. That I think helps set this apart from other screwball comedies.
Yeah, it wasn't until you guys were actually like pointing out how ridiculous the situation is that I even like registered that in my brain, because just like how it's played, like it just like feels pretty well grounded, and their chemistry really grounds it all. I absolutely agree. Even though all the other professors are definitely quirky, but in the best ways.
They all have their bits. I like the roles when they give each person their own bit to work with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the biggest comparison between this and other Hawks of the time, and I have to be honest, I'm more of a fan of the Grant-led Howard Hawks comedies of this time period than I am of this one. Although I like this one quite a lot. I'm just more a bigger fan of the Grant-led ones. I do think there's a difference between having the male lead versus the female lead be the kind of quick-talking, high-energy person. I also think that one of the other differences is that rather than having the second lead, in this case, Cooper, be the quirky one, they push that to like supporting characters, while in other of the Hawks films, it's fast talking, high energy versus quirky as the two main leads. While this one, you really do kind of like Cooper is very much a straight man. And he's not even a straight man in like the other guys are straight men in the quirky way. He's not even really that quirky. He's very, buttoned up, but also not particularly eccentric. The most eccentric thing he does is happen to walk around the city trying to find out about slang. He's kind of he's very normal outside of like that one action.
Yeah, I still find him really funny, but it's the fish out of waterness that makes him funny. He is just such straight-laced and I said kind of naive because he's been stuck in academia for who knows how long. So him trying to adapt and learn the street ways and saying everything with such straight face, him teaching or not teaching the class as much as like learning from all the people he recruited on the streets and just repeating back to him this nonsense in this very uptight way. I think it's just perfect acting. I really buy, what he's selling, that he is so curious and invested in this language and speaks about it like it is true academia. So he's like, you're saying that flim flam is the same as goober and like corn. What's corny? Is this being corn? It's all like he has such a sincere take to it that makes the jokes really land. I like him a lot in this movie.
I mean, it's just funny to have him be sitting in a room trying to diagram out like the root word of some slang. Yeah. Well, he's talking to a bunch of people who just look at language as something you speak, not something you intellectually break down and try to trace back to some origin. Yeah. He's trying to diagram it, and they're just like, it's just a term, dude. If you give your girlfriend a ring and she likes it, that's cool. Like their understanding of these words is so real life placed, and his is so academic. Like he wants to understand this. Like, well, can I pull this piece? Like he's a language guy, so he wants to be like, I can pull this part of the word out, and I can pull this part of the word out, and trace it back to the Greek or the Latin or whatever. And they're just like, it's just a word you use. What are you talking about? It's just words. Like it is kind of interesting. Like, and that concept would work with almost anything. The idea that like if you're an expert in a field, there's this level you think about stuff on. And if you're just, an everyday person, you just think about it on a completely different, like just an application, personal use level while they're like trying to diagram it out. That is just always going to be good for humor, especially when you play Cooper so straight and so like earnest and how he wants to like understand where these ridiculous slang terms come from.
They always reply to him when he says, so what do you tell me corn is, with like 10 more words that he does not understand. Like every other word is some 1940s slang that I honestly have no idea what they're talking about because we exist today. And I speak like a proper gentleman and use no slang. So I don't get it, but it's still it's just a real funny bit that they can't even like try to speak in academic terms if they wanted to. I also during those scenes, Barbara Stanwyck just like looking so exhausted the whole time with like her head halfway down in her arms and because she's only there and in it for the out from the crime to hide away. So her patience is really being parted with.
Mm-hmm. But then I think, is it right after that where she has like the dancing scene? And because I think the dancing scene is like the first real moment where you're like, I think she actually like really enjoys the company here. And that's where I feel like you start to see the scales kind of tilting in that direction. And it just kind of goes from there. And I find that scene like really, really endearing, the conga scene. Yeah.
It's a great sequence because watching these old guys try to diagram out the movements of how to do the dance, and then she's like, it's just a great moment because she comes in and she's like, "This is how you do the dance. You guys are trying to write how to do the dance, and like, you guys know the steps. I can show you how to actually do the dance. You're playing the wrong music. Like, it's a good scene. I think it's also the first scene where I think she's a little intimidated by all these guys to begin with. Not only because she's running from the law, she's trying to stay safe, but simultaneously, she's not on their level intellectually. She doesn't have this knowledge. She doesn't have the education. She hasn't read all these books. She makes jokes about, oh yeah, I've seen books. I think she tries to play it off as like she plays it off as jokes when she actually does feel insecure. But I think it's the first scene in the movie where you kind of see, oh, she knows something that they don't know how to do. You can walk into a situation where these guys are all struggling, all these guys who know so much more than her about so many different subjects, and she can be the one who goes, you're playing the wrong song, here's how you actually do it. And just like her ability to take over and kind of for the first time in the film, she knows that the guys are all like interested and want to be friends with her and want to make sure she's okay. And it's the first scene where she really kind of takes that and like really runs with it and kind of lets herself become like this person who has some level of sway with all these guys in terms of just like getting them all to dance with her, and in a way that Gary Cooper would not be a fan of if he had been in that room.
But it's really when she falls for them. It's one of those kind of romantic comedy tropes that the person doesn't just fall for the love interest, but falls for the whole family. It's like while you're sleeping, that's who they truly fall in love with. Because she falls for all those guys at that exact moment. That's what kind of creates the contrast between the two worlds. She got mixed up with the gangster world and this other world, which is full of sincerity and honesty, which is then conflicting with the being caught up in the lies and the crime that she starts to get exhausted with by the film, which then makes her turn away from that world come off more realistic. And because that's sometimes too with screwball comedies, the turns that they want to make them have, especially the romantic turns, are so abrupt and so kind of forced, rather than like, why would she didn't really seem like someone that was going to turn away from the crime world. Like, she did seem pretty invested in that wealthy lifestyle, but I think because they make the interactions with that whole group so sincere, it makes it more earned.
Yeah, they do like a good job setting that up. There's always a thing with screwball comedies where oftentimes you will see rapid evolutions and switches in how people feel about each other, and that's somewhat true of the genre as a whole. But I think you see the best of them is they do a good job understanding why you go from in one position going into this household purely to pull the con, to get out, to hide there because they won't search the house with a bunch of professors, and then getting to the point where at the end of the film you're like, oh, she's legitimately struggling over this. She's probably going to go ahead with it because she understands the stakes and why she can't not go ahead with it. But you understand at that point why she's gone from totally just in this for the con versus like actually being emotionally invested in these people as her friends. Zach, do you have any final thoughts on Ball of Fire?
No, I will say like the last 15 minutes does not fall completely flat, but it does slow it down once it gets caught in the antics of, wrapping up the gangster plot. And I think it's a little extra time. I think they could have made that a little cleaner, a little quicker. You have like a good 8 minutes of when the henchmen are in there and they're like slowly burning a rope to drop the picture frame, which is a good bit, but it just runs like so long that I do get a little tired there. So I think that's what keeps it from being like a perfect comedy for me. It's just the end, but the first half is just running on complete charm. I love this movie. Barbara Stanwyck's the best. I'm so happy we're doing this month.
I actually really love that scene. I agree it goes too long, but I really love the scene where they're trying to figure out like through their encyclopedic ways how to take out the guys and like using their jargon. And I don't know, it's very charming to me. And Billy Wilder wrote the screenplay. I had to plug it in somewhere. And it feels like something very much like what his sensibilities are. So I very much enjoy that scene, actually.
We're doing Billy Wilder next week.
I do
because we're doing Double Indemnity.
I do appreciate the scene where they actually like finally attack them all, and the random getting people to walk out the back door. and then just bonking them one at a time and pulling them back out of the way and then tripping one of them. It's just a ridiculous scene, but it's also very 1940s comedy in a way that I will always enjoy because there's something great about a good screwball comedy that they know it's a screwball comedy. There's a real like honesty about how ridiculous this is going to get in moments. And I think it's just a vital element to any of these films is just being for the directors to just totally admit that there's going to be some ridiculous, wacky stuff going on. And you just kind of have to go with it because it's not necessarily designed to all make sense. It's just designed to be fun and promote hijinks and ridiculousness. With that being said, thank you, Cam, for coming on the show, talking about Ball of Fire. It was really fun. I'm sorry that Zach went to very graphic places.
It was not bad. I cut myself off.
He didn't
continue that.
He didn't really say anything wrong. About SC Sackle. Which I did find in IMDb trivia that like each professor had their own seven dwarf that they were like technically like pinned to. And apparently SC Sackle was Dopey, which is absolutely perfect.
Poor guy. He's my hero.
Yep, that's 100% perfect. 100% perfect.
Was the German guy grumpy? I'm assuming the one with the pipe the whole time. It's definitely grumpy, right?
Oh, I can't remember.
So his name is Henry Travers because he was a geographer.
Oh, I love Henry Travers. I don't think he was. I'll find out.
The German guy is not Henry Travers.
Oh, that's not. But he was a geographer, so good. I messed up then. Was he Law?
Henry Travers is, I believe, Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, you're right.
You're thinking about Oscar Homolka. Yeah, it's okay. It's all right.
Okay, yeah, Oscar
Homolka for coming on. Yeah. He's clearly the hardest worker. He has the right to be grumpy. He has to do all the sciences, and there's some idiot over there doing botany.
Half the encyclopedia is his.
He's binge piping this whole movie.
Yeah, he needs it to combat the stress of having to write half the encyclopedia, and the other 7 guys are going to write the other half. Thank you, Cameron, for coming on. This has been wonderful. Yeah. We will have you back at a day in the future. We get another film that lines up with your sensibilities. Next week, as Zach has already spoiled for everyone, we are doing Double Indemnity as we go into week 4 of 5 of Stanwyck month. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you check down in the description, you will see information about Cameron's letterbox. You can go there, read his reviews, look at the rankings, see how he rates films, evaluate his film taste, see if you can learn insights about his what he likes and what he doesn't. You can also find stuff about me and Zach. We're much less interesting. Zach like Muppets. It's literally all his letterboxes is just Muppet-related stuff. He's currently preparing a song, I believe. Zach, are you preparing a song? I'm going to cut this right now. We will see you next week. Zach, you got the song ready, buddy?
I'm singing the same one, but I forgot how it goes already. It's going to be fun. Okay. I have to love because I thought it was funny. It came along and you moved me, honey. I changed my mind. This love is fine. Good gracious, Lucas and Zack podcast. Sugar puss.